Welcome to Touch Technology Review. Today, a quick discussion about the Canon EOS R. This video has come to you about 8 months late, and the reason being is that it took me that long to make up my mind and decide on purchasing one of these, mostly because of the negativity that surrounded this camera upon its initial release. The negativity isn't really founded on anything significant, but it was just more to do with the fact that it didn't quite realize the expectations that some of the consumers had in their mind for Canon's first venture into the full-frame mirrorless segment. Obviously, there's been some great cameras produced by other manufacturers such as Sony with their A7 III, such as the Panasonic GH4 and 5, Fujifilm, so many mirrorless options out there that are all great still cameras and really do well at shooting not only 1080p but also 4K video. So I think a lot of people were expecting that Canon were going to come out with all guns blazing and bring out the top of the line specification, and they nearly did. The main thing that's missing in this camera is the ability to shoot in 4K at full crop. So instead it does provide a crop of the sensor to 1.7 magnification when shooting 4K, and this was the main criticism that this camera had received. Now, in terms of how that might impact you, the first thing I want to clarify is it won't affect the video quality. The quality remains the same even though you're using less of the sensor, but it means that you won't be able to use your lenses in their native focal length. So if you have a 50mm lens shooting at 4K, it becomes 85mm, and the 35mm focal length will act as a 58 to 59mm focal length. So you just need to be more versatile or more prepared to switch around lenses when you're shooting in 4K. And once you get your head around that, I don't think it really presents a significant problem, and it's nothing to be worried about in particular. So what are the advantages of going for the EOS R? Well, for me, if you're a long-term Canon user and you've got a series of lenses, EF lenses, you can purchase the adapter with the EOS R that only costs a couple of $100. There's a few different options, but the cheapest one is $200 here in Australia. And by adding that adapter, you can retrofit all of your EF lenses, all your prime lenses, zoom lenses. And the best thing about them is that they all work as though they're native lenses. They work in full autofocus mode, and you can adjust the aperture through the camera. It's as though they were native lenses. There's no downside other than enlarging the physical size of the lens by placing the adapter in between the lens and the camera. And I think they've done an amazing job of retrofitting these lenses with the RF to EF adapter. So for me, because I've got so many lenses that cover the full range of focal lengths, I don't find there to be any disadvantage that there is a crop on this camera. Having said that, I would have definitely preferred that, like the Sony A7 Mark III, it could shoot in 4K without a crop. It would have been slightly better, and I would have got more advantage out of certain lenses when doing so. But what I've chosen to do is to pick up the 35 1.8 RF native lens for the EOS R to be my replacement in 4K of my 50mm 1.2 prime. It's a very high quality lens, and it shoots all the way open to 1.8, which is very close to 1.2. I'll never shoot in 1.2 when doing video. I'm usually on 1.6 or 1.8 anyway. So at 1.8, that's more than enough. Using that 35mm lens on 4K, I'm not going to be at any disadvantage. When it comes to ultra wide, I've got a 16 to 35 lens, so my 16 is going to be in the mid-20s or thereabouts. So that's also quite wide when shooting video. There's never been a time, or very rarely been a time, that I've shot fully wide open at 16mm for video, because I find it's too distorting for when people are in the scene. So in reality, I don't think you would often want to shoot at 16mm when using video. If you are a videographer that needs ultra wide, then certainly that could be a disadvantage, in which case you could go wider and get a 10mm lens, etc. So I don't think it's a massive problem. I think it's been overblown, it's out of proportion. The main thing is the camera is a massive update in terms of the technology. The flip out screen is incredible. Flips out to the side. I'm looking at it now. I can monitor myself as I'm talking. I can see the big record button there. I know that it's recording. It's super convenient. Not only does it flip out to the side, but you can do waist level view for street photography. There's so many advantages of having that flip out screen. Sony has been unable to deliver that yet. I'm sure it's coming this year or very soon, but the Canon EOS R has a flip screen built into it, and it's a great quality screen. The ergonomics of the camera are also great. It's nice and compact. It feels great in the hand, so it's going to be well suited to travel photography. Once you do put some of your EF lenses on, if you've got primes like me, it does bulk up the camera significantly, so you lose some of that portability. But nonetheless, if you go with some of the smaller lenses, it can be a very good travel camera that's nice and compact. So those are my first impressions, my first comments. I don't want to be negative and continue this negativity about this camera. I've only picked it up and had it for a week, but as soon as I began to use it, I was very grateful that I finally made the decision and upgraded to this camera and wasn't dissuaded and moved over to another platform altogether because of the omission of a couple of very minute features which don't make much of a difference whatsoever. So that's been my opinion so far. Hopefully you find this information useful. For those of you interested, I've shot a little bit of 4K footage, which I've scaled down to 1080p to fit into this video. I will produce some native 4K videos shortly once I've given this camera a full test. But the purpose of doing these latest tests is just to show you the 4K capability using the EF lenses. I've got a 50mm and a 85mm lens on the camera, a couple of close-up shots of some products, and I'm using the dual pixel focus capability with touchscreen, and I'm using the touchscreen to enact dual pixel focus by tapping on the objects, and you can see just how quickly it zooms in and out of focus from one object to another. So just a quick test of the autofocus capabilities, which is really one of the main reasons that I did purchase this camera, and I can clearly see already just how well this thing focuses. So the focus test in 4K is looking really good. It's going to significantly improve the videos that I produce on this channel when I need to have myself in focus without somebody behind the camera checking the focus, and also doing all those product close-ups. It's just going to make the task so much easier. Now, one of the other complaints that you're going to hear about this camera is the fact that it only has one single card memory slot. That's one SSD slot. Now, for most people, this is not going to be a problem. It's usually only an issue for event photographers who like to record in dual card simultaneously in order to get redundancy and avoid missing shots. For me, I very rarely use that feature, even with my Canon EOS 5D Mark III, which has dual card recording capability. I just never really put it to use. I tend to back up immediately after shooting when I'm shooting critical scenes that can't be lost, and I'm prepared to take that risk. It's very rarely become an issue. So those are my initial impressions of the Canon EOS R after having had it for just 1 week. I've already produced about 3 or 4 videos, and they're all tack sharp in focus with beautiful bokeh, and the handling is very easy, and it's so much better than the previous method I had where I was trying to manual focus. So an absolute winner there in terms of the way it focuses. I do need to spend a lot more time with it. I want to go out in the streets of Melbourne, do some stills, video, a bit of time lapse, and once I've done that, I'll produce some further videos. I know it's late, I've come late to the party, but there's always an opportunity to see what else this camera can do. So I'm going to put it to the test and produce some more videos on the Canon. If you want to see them, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell next to it so you'll be notified as soon as the videos are available. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Bye for now.